Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings Podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. If you've ever felt nervous or stuck or maybe even second guessing yourself in an interview, this episode today is going to help you raise your interview confidence. And I'm actually doing something I have never done before. I am letting you in on a real live coaching session from inside my signature coaching program for free. So what you're about to hear next is a live coaching call from my HR Star program. And in this call specifically, I worked with my clients to overcome their biggest confidence blocks from their interviews. So these are the things they're the most nervous about. And I wanted to bring it here because I'm thinking, if they are struggling with these things, I know you are too. So these are things like having less experience, maybe being new to a country, or just knowing what to say in an interview. So that's exactly what we covered today. And here's the truth. Confidence isn't just about how you feel. It's actually about how you leave the hiring manager feeling after they speak to you. And if you don't sound confident in your answers, you're not going to get the offer. Now, what you're about to hear is just one coaching call from inside the HR Star program, and this is like a teeny weeny little piece of what is included. Inside of HR Star, you get literally every single thing you can possibly need to land your next HR role at record speed. And this includes my proven resume transformation. This is literally where you start getting callbacks in as little as 24 hours using a proven template. This is where I literally read every single word of your resume live. We go through it, use the proven templates, and we come up with the best possible resume for your specific profile. This takes strategy. And also, I personally write your pitch for you live, and we add things that are working to really position you as a standout candidate. This changes your full personal brand and first impression from your interviews and builds a ton of confidence. And then we build all of your specific answers to literally every single interview question that you could possibly be asked with confidence. I also take a look at every single person's LinkedIn profile and do a live audit. And this is where I make sure that you're entering the hidden job market and you get recruiters also reaching out to you instead of just aimlessly applying to hundreds and hundreds of roles. Okay, that being said, this program works because it's not just the information like you get here on this podcast. It's the actual implementation. This is the how you actually do that with your profile specifically. So if you're ready to land your next HR role, HR Star may be a great fit for you. And all of the details are in the show notes. But first, listen in to this live coaching session so that you can also raise your confidence for your upcoming interviews. Let's go. Today's topic is all about building confidence about your interview responses. Afsana, you crushed your job search, but please, I'd love for you to hop on and share with the group your exciting news.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. And thank to every single person, Irina, you and every single person who has been so motivating and always being there. And your stories have inspired me a lot. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't joined this mentoring session. And Irina, your support wouldn't have been there. HR head was calling me because she saw my resume. And on 1st of January, I had around 2 rounds of interviews. 3rd of January, I got the offer and I joined on 6th of January. And it is around 34% hike compared to what I was getting. I would like to say that within this today's 15, I already got calls for the application that I submitted. So I have got 4 telephone screenings. One, I have my final round tomorrow. And another, I have my final interview next week. And one of them is also Samsung that reached out to me. Yeah, I did not apply, but that Samsung office is in California. And then they reached out to me. Probably my post and all was highlighted somehow. And then
I love you sharing this story. Thank you so, so much. And congratulations.
initially, when I did not have any offer and I was going for interviews, I was not confident. I would fumble. But right now, the confidence that I have, that the way I'm speaking is so different. And I am like surprised to see how I am behaving. Yeah. Because I have a job, I know, and I am confident that I'm entering. So there's a hell lot of difference in my personality right now that I could feel.
Obsessed. Okay, Hoyam, I was actually going to go to you next because I know you have exciting news too. So we're just starting off with like all the good news before going into the session. I'd love for you to share your story too. You had some exciting things happen over the holidays.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your coaching. It has been an incredible journey. I really
things happened fast for you, very different.
Yes. Like after my one-on-one with you, like before, I just had no interviews whatsoever, like really no interviews for a very long time. And then after that date, I started to get interviews like 18 days after that. And I got ongoing interviews with like 4 different companies. One of them is Rolls-Royce. I would never expect in my life that I would.
That is so cool. I love hearing Samsung, Rolls-Royce.
I've never thought one day in my life that I would have an interview with them. The one that I got an offer from, they are the one that moved very quickly with the 3 interviews. Anyway, like with each interview that got with the different companies, they really loved my communication. It's really thanks to the pitch and all the top stories, because really before I had no confidence whatsoever. I know I'm an under communicator, and this really demotivated me a lot. Also, I had a 5th interview with someone from my network that I had shared my resume with. Like, I've seen that they really loved my resume and they wanted to move forward, but I already had the offer going. So yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you so much, and good luck for everyone. It really made a difference. So thank you so much. And
you're so welcome. I'm so happy for you. I love it. Perfect jumping off point. Thank you so much for sharing. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Oh, congratulations. Okay, let's get into it. So today's topic, all of the topics really that we're going to focus on for all of our calls really root back in that confidence piece, right? So Hoyam just said like she had no interview confidence, and that energy, even if you're feeling that and you're not saying that out loud, that can deter interviews, right? You're like maybe applying, but you're sort of like, I really hope they don't call because like, I don't really want to have this conversation. It's nerve-wracking, or maybe you're putting yourself out there only to be hurt again, which is not easy, and to go back after you've been rejected. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. But today's topic is all about blind spots. And these are the things, this is a term that I use that maybe you haven't heard before or you have, but these are the things that I think of that you don't want anyone to ask you. You're like, this is what I'm least confident about. If someone can just not ask me this one question, and it can be interview specific, maybe for a specific role, maybe they want like LR experience and you don't have that. So you're like, please do not ask me about this. Or maybe it's your leadership experience, or maybe it's just like a gap in your resume, working in a new country, layoffs, a skill that you may not have. Maybe you don't have your education yet completed in HR, and you're just like, okay, this is the thing. Please never ask me. So these can change over time. And as we get more confident answering one, another one might pop up for you, because interviewing is like a mental game, right? And often we have that imposter syndrome that pops in and says, you're not good enough. You don't have enough experience in this. Why would someone hire you? Well, the last 2 people said no, so obviously they're going to as well. So this is the thought that I want to tackle today. And we're going to stick on this. It's a bit of a negative topic, but you'll see how we turn around the answers. And that's where I want to start before we go into the positives in future sessions. So in the chat, if you could write what you are least confident about today. Is it a gap, a specific skill, write that in the chat. And then I never want to put anyone on the spot. So if I call on you and you're like, no, I actually don't want to get into this, I don't want to build a custom answer in front of everyone, then don't. I highly recommend it because you're going to see themes. What I often see is like, once we build one person's answer and then you're like, ooh, that's super helpful for me too. And I can see how I can apply that. And you might be asked that question as well. Teresa, industry change. Yes. So you might be maybe having a set of your experience only in tech and now you're going into manufacturing or vice versa. Okay, amazing. Teresa.
It's great to see everyone again. And I did put in the chat, I've seen, I've had an uptick in interviews. I have a number of opportunities and I'm really exploring different industries. And I think, we've spoken before. I'm kind of really specialized in like tech consulting, government contracting sector. And I'm exploring a great opportunity in retail, in hospitality, and, financial industries. So I'll just kind of talk through it. So, I'll start off and say, while I haven't worked directly in the manufacturing industry, I've gained extensive experience in fast-paced, dynamic environments through my work in tech consulting sector. And through these roles, just really required me to adapt quickly to different business models, client needs, similar to the manufacturing or hospitality environment, and just adjusting to meet customer demands and market trends.
Thank you for going first. Thank you for putting yourself out there.
It's always hard sometimes to go first.
It is. I love breaking the ice. Okay, Teresa, I like what you said. I want you to be excited about what you're saying. So I'd love to ask you some questions just to remind you that you're a badass. Okay. How many years of HR experience do you have?
Over 15.
Okay, I love it. Now, you've worked in both tech and government, which are different. And within those groups, tell me about the types of clients you've supported that are really different, like rattle them off, like from C-suite to engineering to like finance. Tell me more.
Really all the corporate G&A functions, IT contracts, legal, engineering, sales, marketing, business development. So really over the course of my career, I've supported all functions. So,
okay. Did you learn those groups were more similar or different from an HR perspective?
Well, similar. It's people.
Were you able to do that successfully?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So I don't even think you're going to be asked the question, and I could be totally wrong because I never know what you're going to be asked, but I like to predict and I'm usually fairly right. I actually don't think you're going to be asked a question like, Teresa, why should we hire you? This is a different industry for you. Like you've never worked in retail. You've never worked in hospitality or financial services. But in your pitch, I want to make sure we avoid that question if possible. Now, if asked, you're going to answer it and we're going to draft a response, but I want to try to avoid it as much as possible proactively. So this means in your pitch, when you're going into a role where you don't have that industry experience, we want to ensure they understand out of the gate how seasoned you are and how many different groups that you've supported. And what you learned at the end of the day is HR is HR. And that's what I've learned too. I went from manufacturing to corporate clients, like C-suite to manufacturing is like night and day. But at the end of the day, when I got there, it was like, it's more similar than different. Then I went from telecom to nuclear engineering, which again, I was very surprised to learn that at the end of the day, these are people issues. You are still dealing with performance management and employee relations and questions. And at the end of the day, I know like this is my truth. I know this more than anything. HR is HR is HR. Okay. And yes, you will have to adapt, but you've proven you can do that successfully. So for you, Teresa, like right in your pitch, I would put it proactively. I am a seasoned HR professional with over 15 years of experience across all industries. In my experience, I've had an incredible opportunity to support clients from X, Y, and Z. List the most similar to that interview if possible, right? But also make sure they understand the breadth and the depth of your experience. And maybe you don't typically put this in your pitch, but maybe you do. Maybe you just add it proactively to be like, And what I learned from supporting C-suite to manufacturing or whatever it is that at the end of the day, these are people, right? So we're dealing with people issues and, I've been able to jump in and adapt. So that way you're kind of already addressing the concern before it even comes up as a concern. They might just be like, oh, okay, good. Like she's someone who has a ton of experience. We're just going to like move forward. And if they're interviewing you, they're probably not looking for deep industry experience. They're probably more, because they see your resume already, they're probably more looking for the HR knowledge that you bring, right? So does that give you more confidence with like addressing that before it even comes up?
Yeah. And I think just expanding my pitch and customizing it a little more to the different industries. You gave me some good nuggets. Thank you.
And Gian, like, I feel like this is what we talked about yesterday too, where like you had a phone screen yesterday, I believe, right? On a role where you needed all different industry experience. So this is kind of a way to work that in and be like, I'm a senior like HR executive. Like I know my stuff here. How did it go, by the way?
It went well. It was brief. It seemed more like they were they asked questions about working in the office, and it was more of a true screen, but I did have a good conversation. The pitch helped because I was able to land that, and the recruiter is going to share my resume with the hiring manager and then advise of next steps. And they did send a follow-up, and he said he enjoyed our conversation. So I think it went well. It was more brief than I expected, but I think it was a true screen.
Sometimes it's like that. So we never know. With a phone screen, it could go one or two ways. Sometimes the recruiter really positions it as a screen, and then they're like, hey, we're going to just talk for 15 minutes. And it ends up going an hour, and then they go really deep because they like the profile and they don't want to have to call you back. Or it's really a true screen where they only have like 5 simple questions like, what's your salary? Can you come to this office? Tell me about you. And then it's kind of over. So I like to be over prepared just in case, because you never really know, but amazing. Okay. Good luck on that. Addressing gap on resume. Yes. So many people have gaps. Maninder, let's talk about this. Tell me about your gap. Tell me more, jog my memory, and let's talk about the specific question you're hoping you're not asked, and let's build it.
Even though I know I'll be asked about it, because myself as a recruiter, I would probably ask somebody as well. So I'm trying to put myself in that position. But it's been a year and a half now of my gap. So I don't know what to say, because yes, everyone has their answers of, I've done courses and I've done that. And sure, I've done a couple courses here and there. But to be honest, financially, like I haven't done a lot of courses because they aren't super cheap. So I don't know what to say. Like we all know the economy, the industry, like it wasn't doing well last year. And it's something that everyone knows, but you can't just blank and just be like, there weren't that many jobs. Like you have to perfect the answer, make it nicer. So I'm having trouble with that, because when I first got laid off, I took a little bit of time off because I was packaged out and I traveled and all that. But last year I was job searching. So I don't know how to kind of round out that answer when I'm asked.
Okay. So yes, recent 1.5 year gap. Yes, you will be asked, because to your point, it's just the due diligence of any recruiter. It's like an obvious must, and we're going to welcome it in, because to your point, you would do the exact same. Yeah. Let me ask you something. So when you ask someone that question, you're on a phone screen and you ask them, like, tell me about your gap, because you also see it. What is going through your mind about the candidate you're speaking to? Like, tell me before they answer. So say they said nothing.
Yeah.
The response is completely neutral, but what's in your mind when you ask the question as a recruiter?
I try to approach it in a very thoughtful way, but I know a lot of hiring managers don't, which is why I try to fight for people when I'm in that position. But I just want an honest answer of what it is, whether they, sometimes people had a sick relative, sometimes they had a sick family member, or whatever it may be. I just want kind of honesty and confidence in the answer.
Yeah. Okay. And it sounds to me like you go in from the other side, neutral and open. You're like, listen, I don't know what you've been up to. You could have been job searching, or you maybe had a sickness in the family.
But I know not a lot of people are me. So.
Or what?
I know a lot of people aren't me, and they don't approach it that way as well.
Yes. No. Yes. Totally. We never know who we're going to be speaking to, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if this recruiter has actually called you, they see factually in black and white on your resume, you have a gap.
Mhm.
They already know this about you and they're still calling you. So they've already made the decision. It sounds like they are more similar to you than not, because otherwise you just wouldn't receive the call out.
Mhm.
It's like, if that's a deal breaker, if they're making judgments that they shouldn't be making before speaking to you, then that ship is already sailed. Okay, so let's start with building an answer that you would respect, which is an honest one, and you just want to understand. That's what it is. Okay, in an interview, you know my confidence kind of sandwich. I don't like to go in with the negative, even though that is like very, very true. We're going to put that in the response, but I don't want it to be the first thing. We're like blaming the market. It just it doesn't make a great first impression, because although people do want a very honest response, I want it to be very positive.
Mhm.
Give me something you're grateful for over the last year and a half that you've been up to, where I know you were packaged out, like you said, it gave you some opportunity to travel. Like, give me some positives of how the last year has been productive, and like from a productivity perspective, from a gratitude perspective, even if you didn't take many courses, like tell me what you did do that you would be proud to tell someone in a very positive way. Tell me.
In terms of courses, like I took a couple like courses on Coursera about just like leadership and stuff, because I mean, recruitment, like some on biases and stuff like that. Other than that, like spending time with family, the last couple months, wedding planning, which I know is relevant, but then isn't, because I don't think people really care, because you are project managing that. But
yes, they're also going to think you're going to go off and have so many babies. I'm like,
exactly.
And you never know who you're speaking to that have their job.
Yeah. So spending a lot of time with family, a couple courses, and I would say so.
Yeah. Looking for the right opportunity. Would you say you're being like selective about where you go next?
I was, but I'm not anymore. But that is something that I could say that I was being very selective in terms of what team I was going into, what company I was going to, because a lot of companies, were laying off or were in turmoil. So I didn't want to enter a company that I knew was going to be
financially strong. You wanted them to be, in a good position. Okay, super fair. Okay, so tell me about your last role. Tell me the silver linings from that role. I know we're going back, but like tell me some. I know the ending wasn't probably maybe what you expected, and it's not always the most positive, but sometimes there's that silver lining of like, at that company, tell me about the best parts, the relationships maybe that you built or something. Tell me about the good stuff.
Yeah. And I have that answer kind of down pat, because you kind of taught me that as well too. Like when they asked me what happened, I have that answer down. And a lot of it is that I learned a lot there. Like I was there during the Great Recession. So I was super busy. I was working on like 40, 50 recs at a time. Like, so I really built my, I guess you could say, time management skills, recruiting skills, a lot of that. I built a lot of that there, which was great.
Okay.
And I was promoted to a team lead with one of the major client groups, because they liked me. I liked them. Like it worked well. So there are a lot of positives in that role.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I know we built that response. Actually, if you were faced with that question, like, tell me what what happened, or tell me what you've been up to since X role, I would actually go there, because I think it's the most confident way and the most transparent way that you can talk about this situation, because we're not leaning into all of the things you've done over the last year. So actually, I would say, because there's similar questions, like what have you been up to, or what happened since, right?
Yeah.
Happened in that role and what happened since. So what I would say is go to that response.
Okay.
I would go with as the positive. So I would start with, my last opportunity. I was there for X number of years, and it was an incredible learning opportunity. I was there through the Great Resignation. I was filling, so many roles at once. I made great relationships. I was promoted in that role, and then go into that like confidence sandwich. So confidence first, then get to that transparency and the honesty you're looking for in your candidates, and just say, as you know, many industries were hit hard from a financial perspective in the last year. And that's exactly what happened. And like many organizations and like many other recruiters that I'm sure, you're speaking to every day, my role was impacted as part of that. And with that, I took that as an opportunity to really step back, to assess where I want to go next, and to join a company that is like thriving financially. Like tell them more about like your dreams and hopes for the future. And I would focus on that instead of like really leaning in. And then if they dig further, they're like, oh, okay, I understand. Like,
Yeah.
but what have you been up to? Like, what have you been doing?
Mhm.
And I would just say, it has been such a big change. This has never happened to me in my career before. And it's something new that I was navigating. So I took a step back. I assessed, I want to find, this type of opportunity. I took some courses and now I'm ready for my next challenge, future focused.
Yeah.
This role catches my eye because X, Y, and Z. And like talk about their financial health. Like I see you guys are growing, you're hiring. That's so exciting. That's exactly the type of company I want to be a part of next.
Yeah. So kind of just redirect it.
Redirect it to that because I think those two questions, like you have one confident answer that answers all of that. And I don't want you to focus on things that are less relevant, like the wedding planning, because that's not true. And then to your point, like no one really wants to hear that the job market's tough. They already know that. You're speaking to a hiring manager. And guess what? That person is probably speaking to many others
in the same position.
In the exact same position. This isn't going to be a news flash. Instead, you might answer it a little bit more confidently than the next.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Okay, Miriam, I feel less confident that you've been a business partner. Okay, tell me more. What do you think they're going to ask related to your experience that won't be like a fit?
Yeah, I've worked in HR for over 15 years, and the majority of my time has been in HR business partner capacity. I was an HR manager at least 5 years ago, but then since then it was easier to find an HR business partner position. So I'm currently at my current position for nearly 3 years, but yeah, I guess I'm just kind of, and obviously this could be doing our one-on-one call as well, but like making sure how I can transition to a more of a senior business partner. But I guess just basically exemplifying the things I've done that correlate to the senior business partner position. But I guess that is a little bit of my blind spot because I haven't had that official title yet.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, once I see the profile, I think it'll be easier to tackle. But here's what I'm thinking. The type of roles you're targeting, they're senior business partner roles, and they're still individual contributor roles. They're not like leadership roles, or are they?
I'd be happy with, I guess, either or. Like, I think I would prefer a leadership position, but I guess it depends. Like, as long as I can make an impact and make a difference, and I like to create new programs and develop new initiatives and things like that. So I guess if I'm more of a front runner in a lot of those things.
Okay, thank you. So here's what I'm hearing. You have over 15 years of experience already, including being an HR manager and being a business partner already. And senior business partner at different organizations, they're going to look different. But at the end of the day, at the core, they're very similar. It's like you are a strategic HR professional who has over a decade of experience in supporting clients, right? And that senior business partner role that you apply to may look exactly like what you've been doing over the 3 years in your current role. So sometimes in our heads, we make it up to be like a bigger jump, but you've already had the titles and all they know of you going into the conversation is about the titles you've had on your resume, right? Titles don't mean everything, but you already have the manager title, the business partner title, and sometimes business partner is more senior than HR manager, depending on the organization. Right. And sometimes it's the opposite. All to say, you have incredible experience that I want to dig into more when we meet. And it might not be the stretch that you think it is. But the key to answering all of the interview questions at the more senior level will be leaning into the most senior experiences that you've had, okay, and pulling them out because they're the most relevant. So for example, say you're interviewing for a senior business partner role where you are going to be a partner to the C-suite or the senior leadership team in that role. Then I would pull out the most senior experiences you have, whether it's when you were an HR manager or most recently in supporting those very high level clients. And then I would talk more about that. Do you know what I mean? Or your experiences leading. Maybe you led like an HRIS transformation across the company. And we'll get into what you actually have done, but like going into the most senior experiences and talking about that, because that will be the closest link to the role you're interviewing for. And that goes for anyone going for a more senior role than they've had in the past. Now give me one example of like the most exciting and most senior type of experience that you do have over 15 years?
Well, I've written like handbooks at different companies, but yeah, I guess one of them more recently, I've also like succession planning with Ninebox. I've done my current company, I've done 2 reorg designs.
And who did you work with on those?
Yeah, I worked with the executives on the on the 2 reorgs, and I worked with, for the handbooks, the executives as well. That was at a previous company.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So let's go into the 2 reorg example. And actually, I want you, this is your homework before the next session next week. Write out one of these examples, the one for the reorgs, as a top story using module 3 and 4. And then I'd love to practice that response next week. Okay. But what I'd say you're in an interview, you're going to want to lean into that. That's the most senior experience. So for example, you would open with a confidence statement that sounds something like, over the last 15 years, I have been a business partner to the executive team on all aspects from HR, including, creating the foundation of all of our HR programs and policies through an employee handbook, or leading organizational design through 2 different reorgs. I'd love to tell you about one of these experiences. And then you're going to dive a little bit deeper, let's say into the reorg. I would say then you'd walk them through what you've done, but you're going to pick very strategic words. So when you go into the modules, I would listen to the last parts of the examples at the strategic level, because you're going to be speaking up, right, for these more senior roles. So then I would say, you're going to use words like strategy, how, you, for the reorg, you met with the senior leadership team, you understood the business objectives, you understood, let's say it was a cost cutting initiative that was the driver, and then you planned the whole thing, and then you led it and you executed. And then you're going to talk about the results at that senior level too. It's what they're looking for at the senior business partner level most of the time is strategy and leadership, whether that's leadership of projects like we're talking about or leadership of people. But those are the 2 things we always want to include. Does that kind of help to think of interviewing at the more senior level?
Yeah, that definitely really helps.
And then as we write your pitch in our one-on-one, that is something we're going to have in mind, knowing your target is a little bit more senior. How do you write out of the gate? Even when you start talking about tell me about your response, how do you answer up to that next level? Okay.
Great.
Okay. Amazing. Kinza, so I'm just going in the order of the chat, Hassa. 4 years gap with limited Canadian experience. Let's talk about the Canadian experience, because we haven't talked about that yet. Kinza, I know we're still going to meet for our one-on-one as well. And that's where we'll talk about the pitch, that will talk about your story in terms of how it flows, how you talk about that 4 years, what have you been up to? Moving countries is obviously very difficult. So there's a lot that you were doing. So how do we talk about the best possible things? So I don't have your resume or your experience in front of me. So tell me about your HR experience in general, and what experience, you said limited experience in Canada. What experience do you have, and where is it from?
Okay. Hi, Irina, and hi, everybody. So I just joined this program this Monday and still trying to figure out how it works and going through the modules. And this is my first session. And so I graduated in 2016 back home from Pakistan. And I did my specialization in HR. And then I worked there for 1.5 years at one company. I started as an HR intern, and then I got promoted as an HR assistant. And then that was back in 2018. And that's where life changed. I got married, and then I came to Canada on a visitor visa. Then my husband applied for inland sponsorship. So I was waiting for my work permit. So I couldn't work for 7 to 8 months, but I was working on my resume. I was working on the market and everything. But then life happened and I couldn't go back to work. I had a very difficult pregnancy, a lot of medical complications, and I decided to put my career at break. Although it was just starting out, I just graduated. I just had a 1.5 year of experience back home in my country. And then I moved here, and after having baby, and the baby also had some medical conditions. So I just decided to give my career a break and work on my family. And once I worked on all these issues and everything was better, I thought I can go back to work now. So that's how 3-4 years passed. Once my daughter, she went to school, then I went to school too, because I was thinking that whenever I was applying for jobs, I was not hearing back anything. And after graduating, I did my first co-op at Sheridan College as an HR and marketing intern. And after that, the last day of my internship, I got another job offer from Pengate Asset Management. And that was another internship as a talent acquisition coordinator internee. And I worked there for 4 months. And I was very confident that I got 2 internships and now I have a degree and I can easily find a full-time job. Now everything is set. But no, life didn't happen like that.
Not yet.
Not for me.
It's yet to come. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And I totally get, so much has happened there. We're going to actually write your pitch once we finalize your resume, because there's a lot of really good things. So it's like in writing, I heard 4-year gap, not too much like Canadian experience. But then when I actually heard only the tail end of your story, then I understood like, okay, wow, you actually have experience from back home. But not only that, you recently graduated here and then landed 2 internships. So you're more like a new grad, right? Without that 4-year gap. And you'll never have to explain that because that's not something we're going to be showcasing in the interviews. All to say, I want to draft like a custom tell me about you response in our one-on-one. That will be the most effective way, but I need kind of all the pieces once I ask you a ton more questions in our one-on-one. Okay. So that will come. I know you just joined. So welcome. You're doing the right things. You're in the right place. Focus first on doing the pre-work for our session with your resume and book it as soon as possible. And let's dive in that way.
Perfect.
All right. Teresa, good luck on your interview. I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, Hafsa, I'm going to you last. Canadian laws and practices. Yes, laws, regulations, big question that we get in most interviews for HR. Tell me more about what experience you do have in this area to do with like laws, regulations.
Hi, Reena. First of all, I would like to say that just after our last session, I applied for multiple jobs and already got 2 screening interviews on my line this week. I have an interview later today as well at 2:30 p.m. And I migrated to Toronto last year. I would say maybe the 2023, end of the 2023. And I have been into interviews, but this question actually caught my nervousness and I actually get panic and the whole interview sometimes gets a little bit more nervousness and not at a good side. So, but now after your first 1-to-1 session, I actually highlighted few points and I decided to like show them that I'm an active member of HRPA and I'm currently pursuing my CHRP certification. With that, I keep myself updated on trends of whatever HR new trends are. And due to my ongoing learning, I'm pretty much confident that I will learn labor laws very quickly and will apply into the organization.
Okay, I love that. First of all, I love that you have some interviews coming up. And like I totally get why you get that sense of panic because you're like, well, this is the one thing I don't want to talk about right now. Let's talk about other things. But I want to flip the script and actually, you're not going to talk about it proactively unless they ask, of course. But I would flip your mental kind of state to say, you know what, I welcome this question. This is a very fair question. If I was a recruiter, I would also be asking this question and look at it like an invitation to tell them more. Okay. So there's no judgment at this point. They're not looking at you because they would have never called you. They're not looking at you thinking, oh, Hafsa doesn't have this and she doesn't have that. They're just really asking from a neutral place. And until you give a response, that's at the point where the recruiter either will categorize it as like negative, like, oh, that's not enough for us, or positive. And you might find some organizations, the hiring manager is very strict on having a ton of Canadian labor law experience. And if that's the role, it's probably not the right fit for you at this point in your career. But there's going to be others that are like, okay, well, I know you're smart. I know you could figure it out. And they'll give you the opportunity because we all start, whether we were born in North America or not, like we all start at one point in our careers not having any experience in labor law whatsoever. Like everyone here started at that place, and that's where you're starting from today, and that's okay. Tell me, what experience do you have with laws and regulations in general? Just not in Canada, but like in overall. Like,
So I have pretty much experience in laws and regulations. I have been working in a company that spans across North America, Europe, and Middle East. So I have been dealing with all employee queries regarding their leave management, their attendance management, and vacation leaves. I have all other queries that from employer and manager perspective.
this is your answer, not the first one. This is it. Hello. So they ask you, hi, like what experience do you have with laws and regulations? Let's say, I don't even know if they're going to ask, but let's just say they do. I would say, absolutely. I have 3 years of experience supporting North America, X, Y, and Z. And I would actually say something like, when I first started in that role where I was supporting, 10 countries or 3 continents, however you want to put it, I would say when I started, I didn't know too much about North American law, or you can name a country like Egyptian employment law. And what I learned is that I'm someone who learns extremely quickly within a couple of months, because I was getting a ton of questions from employees on different employment laws and different questions that were coming up. I learned very quickly. I was able to learn through looking at the government website, and making sure I was able to support those employees. So tell them about a time where, first of all, you already have supported North American clients, and also tell them how you learn quickly. And yes, you also learned all of the recent laws and employment laws within Canada as well. That's part of your answer. But definitely start with what you have, which you do have some. I know it's not deep. You don't feel confident. They're not looking for you to be a Canadian employment lawyer, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be following you. Yeah. And tell them about what you do have, and then tell them about how you learn quick, you've done it before, and you're confident you can do it again. That is your answer.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not just saying, I will learn quickly. It's saying, I have already done it. I've done it. I've already proven I can learn quickly. And I'm super confident I would do that here as well. And that's kind of the reality. Even all of my experience was within Canada, but I didn't know the employment laws. Yes, I knew some things that would come up, like overtime, let's say. The overtime always came up, so I knew those laws. But other things, just like you, I would have to go find out the answer. I'd have to go on the government website or ask a peer or and somehow I'd get the answer. I didn't have it all memorized by any means. And that's not the expectation here either. It's you just need to be the type of person that has experience and also can figure out tough situations that you haven't dealt with before. You've supported North America. Tell them that, and that's the way to feel more confident. Seriously.
Okay. Sounds amazing. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm excited to see you guys in our next sessions. We have a session every Wednesday for the rest of the month. So I will see you in our next sessions, and good luck, everyone, in your applications and your interviews. And we'll talk soon. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.